There's a phrase, and I am willing to bet that every single person listening has either said it out loud or at least whispered it to themselves in the car on the way home.
Oh, I know the one.
It usually hits the end of a long day. You're stuck in traffic, or it's maybe 11 p.m. and you're just clearing one last email. And it's that phrase, I don't have enough time for my kids. I'm too busy working.
It's the universal anthem of modern parenting. And if you look at it just on the surface, it sounds incredibly reasonable.
That's the trick, isn't it? It doesn't come across like a confession of neglect.
Not at all.
It sounds like a confession of hard work.
Oh.
You're not saying, I don't care. You're saying, I'm grinding to provide for them.
Yeah.
It frames absence as a kind of virtue.
Or at least a necessary sacrifice. It's almost a badge of honor in our hustle culture.
Exactly. It's a statement that protects you. It shuts down criticism. But for this deep dive, we're looking at it differently. We're using a stack of material that analyzes this specific sentence through a very rigorous, almost ruthless Stoic lens.
And the core argument here is going to make some people squirm.
I read through it, and squirm is putting it lightly. I felt called out about 5 different times.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to set the table here. The mission for this deep dive is not to guilt trip anyone.
No.
We are not here to offer time management hacks or tell you to wake up at 4 a.m.
Please, let's just agree, no more 4 a.m. wake-up advice.
It's a deal.
Yes.
No, we're digging into the psychological roots and the systemic pressures that make absence feel like love. And we're asking the hard question a Stoic would ask. Is it really a lack of time?
Or is it a specific prioritization of values that we're just afraid to look at?
It's about moving from that passive I have no choice to the active I am making a choice and I need to understand why.
Precisely.
So let's unpack the psychology first. The source material starts with the brain. Like, why does it feel physically impossible to put the laptop down?
Right, why the deadline over the bedtime story? And the source suggests it's not just about wanting to work, it's actually a biological survival mechanism.
A survival mechanism.
Yeah. If you look at how the brain processes busy, it doesn't see a calendar invite, it sees a threat. When you have a deadline or a KPI or an angry email from your boss, your amygdala, that really prehistoric part of your brain, it categorizes that as an immediate danger.
So it triggers a survival response.
It does, because in our evolutionary past, if you failed the tribe or lost your status, you were exiled. And exile meant death.
So my brain is wired to treat an urgent flag in my inbox, like a saber-toothed tiger.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's loud and it's immediate. If I don't do this, I lose status, I lose income, I lose my place.
But then contrast that with a child who's, say, disappointed you're not playing with them. I mean, that feels emotional, sure, but the brain doesn't see that as a danger, does it?
No. A child's sadness or a lack of connection, it just doesn't trigger that same prehistoric alarm bell. If you miss dinner tonight, you won't lose your job tomorrow.
There's no immediate explosion.
Exactly. So the brain categorizes the family relationship as something that can be postponed. It feels safer to neglect the quiet thing than to ignore the loud thing.
That makes so much sense. We respond to noise. But the source goes deeper than just biology. It talks about how society has moralized being busy.
This is crucial.
It's not just that we are busy, it's that we think we should be.
Yes, we've conflated busy with good. If you're exhausted, if you're overwhelmed, society gives you a pat on the back. It's seen as evidence of your responsibility.
So when a parent says, I'm too busy, they're not just describing their schedule.
No, they're validating their moral worth. They're telling themselves, I am a good provider.
And that leads to this trap the source calls the provider paradox. This idea really struck me, that we've split the role of a parent into 2 different jobs.
We have. Society has separated the role of provider, which is money, stability, safety, from the role of emotional presence. But here's the kicker.
The economic system only rewards one of them.
Only the provider part. There is no KPI for sitting on the floor building Legos. There's no promotion for listening to a rambling story about a cartoon.
Right, you can't put patient listener on your LinkedIn profile. No headhunter cares about that.
You can't. So we invest our time in the things that can be measured, salary, position, title, and we neglect the things that can only be felt. We drift toward where the scoreboard is.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, and this was the part that hit me the hardest. The source suggests there's another, more subconscious reason we stay at work. It's the fear of incompetence.
This is the point that usually makes people defensive, but it's just so profound. Many adults prefer work because, quite simply, They're good at it.
They feel competent.
You know how to answer emails, you know how to run a meeting, you have a script.
And parenting.
Parenting is chaos.
Right.
It makes you feel awkward, confused, a crying 4-year-old or a silent teenager. They don't come with a manual.
There's no clear solution.
None. So saying I'm busy is emotionally easier than admitting I don't know how to connect with my child right now. Work is a safe harbor where we feel like masters. Home is the ocean where we feel like we're drowning.
Wow. So we use busy to hide the fact that we feel unskilled at home. That's uncomfortable to admit, but it explains so much about why we linger in the office.
It does. We're avoiding the feeling of being useless. And the Stoics would say, you have to look that incompetence in the face. But before we get to the solution, we have to look at the system. Because it's not just in our heads.
The world is designed to make this absence feel logical.
It really is.
The source calls this the invisible long-term consequence. We sort of touched on this, but it's the idea that the damage to a child isn't some loud explosion.
It's a silent accumulation. That's the danger. Systems respond to crises. If your child broke their arm, you'd leave work instantly. That's a crisis.
Right.
But the slow erosion of a relationship, the quiet drift where they stop telling you things, that doesn't trigger an alert. The source says the damage isn't an event, it's a habit.
And because there's no immediate feedback loop, we just convince ourselves nothing is wrong.
Oh.
And we tell ourselves that story. I'm doing this all for them. The sacrifice narrative.
It's a powerful story, isn't it? I am suffering at work so you can have a good life. It turns absence into a proof of love. But the Stoic counter-argument here is, well, it's devastatingly simple. Love isn't just doing for, it is being with.
You can't outsource presence.
You can outsource cleaning, cooking, anything, but you cannot outsource the feeling of being known by your parent.
There's also this myth of the temporary phase. I think we all do this. Oh, it's just a busy quarter. I'll make it up in the summer.
The promise of tomorrow. The source is very cold about this. It says an adult year is a loop fiscal quarter's annual reviews, it repeats.
Right.
But a child's year is a developmental stage that never returns. If you miss age 5, you don't get to do age 5 again when the market stabilizes. That temporary phase is often the permanent state of your child's youth.
That distinction, the loop versus the straight line, that really puts the pressure on.
Okay, so let's look at what happens when this goes on for years. The source talks about the existential impact, not just on the kid, but on the parent.
Yes. It creates what they call ego narrowing.
Ego narrowing. What does that mean exactly?
Well, think about where you get your sense of self. If you spend 12 hours a day working and maybe 20 minutes a day parenting, your identity, it just shrinks. You stop asking, who am I to my child?
And you only ask, have I done enough work?
You become a purely economic unit in your own mind. Your humanity gets streamlined into productivity.
And that leads to the stranger effect.
This is the heartbreak of this deep dive. The breakdown of the relationship doesn't happen in a big fight. It happens in these tiny micro moments. You come home, you listen to them talk, but you don't understand the context anymore.
You don't know the names of the friends they're talking about.
Exactly. You see them sad, but you don't know why, and it feels too awkward to ask because you've missed the last 10 chapters of the story. It's a loss of rhythm. It's like trying to jump into a TV show in season 5 when you haven't watched since season 1.
That's a perfect analogy. You recognize the characters, but you have no idea what the plot is, and the child knows it. They sense you're out of sync. They sense you are a visitor in their life, not a resident.
And the source mentions moral fatigue, which I think describes that exhaustion we feel that isn't just physical.
It's the energy required to constantly justify your absence to yourself. It takes a lot of mental calories to keep telling yourself, I'm doing the right thing, when your gut is screaming something else. That internal conflict is exhausting.
And the outcome of all this? The source uses the term delayed estrangement.
It doesn't happen when they're 5, it happens when they're 20. You suddenly realize you're no longer the first person they turn to. Not because they're angry, but because they simply learned that you weren't the person who listens. They learned to handle life without you.
That is terrifying. But let's play devil's advocate. It feels like a trap. If we stop working, we can't pay the mortgage. If we keep working, we lose the kid.
So let's pivot to the Stoic solution, because the source is very clear. The answer isn't quit your job and live in the woods.
No, absolutely not. Stoicism isn't about running away from duty. It's about dialogue, not rebellion. It's about stopping the system from dictating your internal hierarchy of values.
One of the key concepts here is confronting the door.
The metaphor of the door is brilliant. The Stoic challenge is, When you walk through the door of your home, do you actually walk through it? Or is the door to the office still open in your mind?
True presence isn't just location, it's mental placement.
Right. The system will follow you home on your phone. The act of closing the door is an internal discipline. It means saying, I am now entering a domain where my KPI is connection, not productivity.
But that's hard when we have this idea of quality time. I feel like a lot of us rely on that. I can't be there all day, but I'll make Saturday afternoon amazing. And the source just attacks that concept. It debunks it. We try to schedule quality time like a business meeting.
Okay, Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m., we will have a meaningful interaction.
Exactly. But intimacy doesn't work on a schedule. You can't checklist connection. The Stoic view is that you have to be present for the boring stuff, the quiet stuff, because that is where the magic happens. You have to waste time with your kids to actually have quality time with them.
The deep conversations happen in the car or while washing dishes.
Not during the scheduled fun activity.
And this brings us back to that incompetence piece. The Torah says a key strategy is actually accepting incompetence.
This is the actionable advice, and it's tough. You have to be willing to sit on the floor with your child and feel stupid, to not know what to say, to be bored or awkward.
The urge will be to pick up your phone.
Always. Because the phone makes you feel smart and connected. The Stoic discipline is to sit in that awkwardness until the rhythm returns. Don't flee back to the comfort of work.
It's basically exposure therapy for your ego. There's also a point about the price of presence. The source is brutally honest here. It says choosing presence has a real cost. And I think this is where most self-help fails. It pretends you can have it all.
And the Stoics would say you absolutely cannot have it all. We have to own that cost. If you close the door at 6 p.m., you might not get that promotion as fast as the person who stays until 9.
You might make less money, have slightly less status.
And the Stoic accepts this. The source argues we lose our agency because we pretend we can have it all. But when you accept, okay, I'm choosing to be present and the cost is X dollars or Y status, you regain your power.
You're not a victim of the system anymore. You're a person making a value judgment.
And that redefines responsibility. We think responsibility is doing what's asked of us by the world.
But the Stoic definition, it's the ability to stay in a relationship even when there's no clear reward.
To answer the call of the other person, not just the call of the boss.
This is heavy stuff, but it feels necessary. It's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about being honest.
Exactly. The goal isn't to become a super parent overnight. The goal is to stop using busy as a moral shield. It's to admit, I am choosing work right now because I'm scared, or I'm choosing work because I need the money, but not, I have no choice.
When you take ownership, you can start to make different micro choices.
You can close the door, you can put the phone in a drawer for 1 hour, you can sit in the awkwardness.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the source leaves us with a final thought. And I really want to leave this with you, the listener. It's a question that it haunts you after you hear it.
It's the ultimate test of this entire discussion. The source asks this. If one day your child grows up, looks at you and says, I understand why you were always so busy.
Do you want that sentence to mean they have developed empathy? Or do you want it to mean that they simply got used to your absence? That's the question to sit with. Thanks for diving in with us.
Thank you.